I did spend a literal night at the museum this weekend.
I did not get much sleep. If the Knicks win the title, I will spend a literal night in a museum.
Who is this man? Yeah.
The cots that they have you sleep on, made for children.
I really should have picked the Knicks because this is my cot for the night.
So I got a bad back on a good day. So I woke up very sore, but got to see Dum Dum and Dexter. My kid Owen was absolutely thrilled, saw the dinosaurs. We woke up the next morning after he stayed up later than he'd ever stayed up before, and he goes, "Dad, the animals really came to life." And I'm like, "They did?" He's like, "Yeah, when you were sleeping, the museum came to life." I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But it was a great time. Probably shouldn't have picked against the Knicks.
If the Knicks win the title, I will spend a literal night in a museum.
I'm glad the Knicks won. Have a great time.
And joining us now, the actual star of Night at the Museum and Knicks superfan, Ben Stiller. Ben, thank you for joining us. I did it. Am I off the hook now, officially?
You spent a literal night in a museum. I commend you. You're a man of your word, as I said. And it was fun. I mean, Owen seemed to have a good time.
Owen had an amazing time. He said, he gives this up pretty easily, but he said he's like, "Dad, that was the best night of my life."
And he also said that everything came to life while you were asleep, right?
Yes, he was so excited about seeing Dum Dum.
Right. So you missed out while you were asleep because everything did come to life.
It's the magic of the Natural History Museum.
Exactly. And then I'm sure the showering and brushing your teeth in the morning was equally magical.
You know, that's the thing that they overlook is it's a program made for kids ages 6 to 12, but they have to be accompanied by an adult. There's a lot of thought that goes into the 6 to 12. There's not a lot of thoughts about the comforts of the adults.
Well, try being on guard duty every night, 5 nights a week. Come on. That's much more glamorous. It's less glamorous than it seems, right?
No, that is absolutely true. I don't know how you pulled it off. They didn't give us many instructions to work with. But I will say, and I don't know how aware you are of this, you have created a cottage industry because we did this tour at the museum. And, you know, it's a museum curator who's telling us about the history of things and how they got the artifacts and everything that's so special. And there's just hundreds of kids being like, "Can we see Dum Dum?" And she's like, "I don't like referring to it as Dum Dum. It's an ancient artifact that's very special." But there's literally a waiting list of thousands for people to be able to do this, what you've created here, Ben.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I'm not affiliated in any way officially with it, but so I don't have no liability for if anything happens overnight. But I'm glad that people are enjoying it, and it seems like a fun thing. When I originally decided to do the movie, is because I thought, oh, this would be the coolest thing ever if I was 10 years old. I actually thought it was cool when I was reading it, so I thought, it's like you're living out some sort of a fantasy, right?
It was a fantasy.
It was your fantasy. It was your fantasy of the Knicks winning the title, the chip, and you got to live it out by spending time because I know that's what you saw happening.
Talk about your all-time backfires. I gotta say, I've made a lot of bad predictions, but they've never quite paid off.
I like how you said I will spend a literal night in a museum, but you actually did go to the Museum of Natural. It could have been any museum. It could have been any night.
Could have been any night.
Literally a night.
Yeah, literally a night. I'm a man of my word. I take it very seriously. Do you feel like the doubt maybe propelled the Knicks? Because you need you need a villain in a story.
Sure.
You know that.
I think that propelled the Knicks all season, probably, right? It always propels the Knicks. I mean, I think even now, as champs, people are still always doubting. And, though I feel like now it's a little bit different because we've done something that, that I don't think, a lot of Knicks fans didn't even think would happen, I think, after that many years of waiting. And now there's like a newfound, confidence in the team, which we really feel, I think, as fans. And of course, watching all this crazy, chairs on the Titanic moving around the rest of the East. It's fun to watch that too.
Yeah, are you ready to be doubted again when everyone picks LeBron?
Yeah. I think honestly, I think that does always fuel a team. It seems, and for Knicks fans for sure. I think it's exciting that LeBron's in the East. As a as a basketball fan. I think that's going to be fun. Just like, it used to be like, like once a year you go to the Garden, see LeBron. Like, this is going to be fun to actually be able to play him, and, knock on wood, we get to go to the playoffs and face him. That'll be fun too.
I mean, Rich Paul said that if you guys didn't win, LeBron was going to be a Knick. That's an alternate universe.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. I mean, look, there were so many years of Knick fans hoping somebody was going to come and be the savior, and, ironically, the person who came said, I'm not a savior, but was the savior in Jalen Brunson. I think the fact that it's such a team of people who were doubted in one form or another, and it wasn't a big star, it wasn't, some, super team being created. This was like an organic thing that happened over 4 or 5 years, really, I think, as the team became what it was.
So now that it happened and you've had a chance to process it, better than you expected? Did it live up to everything that you dreamed it would be?
Million times better.
Really?
I literally smile just thinking. Did you say it? It makes me smile. I think but it's really like any fan. I've never had that experience as a fan. My whole life. I mean, I was 8 years old when in '73. So, I kind of remember it. But I'm like those. The clips come on, or I watch one of the players talking about Game 4 or whatever it is. It immediately just makes me happy, and I'll like watch the clips and I'll start like going, yeah, like it's just such a great feeling to feel that community. It's the community that was supporting the Knicks and then came together, and New York had this explosion of just love and, kind of, just appreciation and connection with each other. New Yorkers connecting with each other. It's pretty cool.
So I'm in Chicago, and I could kind of relate with the Cubs when they won in 2016. But then I felt myself, it had been 108 years, but then I felt myself getting greedy. I was like, they got to go back to back. They got to do it again. Like, have you turned the page and started thinking about defending the title?
A little bit. Still enjoying this, I think. I think it's still time to enjoy over the summer. And, as watching all the moves being made, it's really interesting, because it is like a lot of, teams are adjusting. So the East is obviously a whole new thing now. I think, though, I'm still enjoying it. I think fans are still enjoying it. I think the team, it feels like they're still kind of, taking the moment in, and of course, it's going to be back to work. And, that's going to make next season even more exciting, I think, for the fans, honestly.
Is there a team in the East that's the most satisfying to beat? Because there's like a New York Philly thing, a New York Boston thing, and like they're all now gearing up for you. You're the hunted.
Yeah. I mean, they're great rivalries. Indiana, of course.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens there. I think this Philly thing is going to be really interesting to see how that team coalesces. And I don't think what I think I learned as a fan this year is that you can't really predict anything in terms of watching how our team developed over the season and the highs and the lows. And there were a lot of lows, really up until just before the playoffs, I think. Maybe even till, after Game 3 of the Atlanta series, like we were like, what's going on here? Can we do this? So it's really unpredictable what's going to happen. I think there's so many factors, health, just team attitude, the way the players adjust, like with Philadelphia, it's interesting to see like, how are those guys all going to work together?
Ben, I also learned this year that you shouldn't predict things. I got it wrong.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But look what beautiful stuff came out of that. You're able to finally realize your dream of spending a night in a literal museum.
So what's the bet?
Night
a long, sleepless night in a museum. So what's the bet for the repeat? Dodgeball? What happens? I got to go to fat camp. What happens if the Knicks repeat?
Oh man, I don't know. Dodgeball's always fun.
Dodgeball's fun.
Yeah, but that would just be a game. That wouldn't be. I just something like. I guess I feel like I have to have something on the line too. So we should think about it. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll come up with some stakes and.
What's your prediction for the Knicks? Next season?
I mean, they're probably losing the second round, something like that.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Giannis, okay. LeBron.
Okay. How about this? It's not a literal night in a museum. It's I was going to say 5. 2 literal nights.
I honestly don't know if I could take 2 nights on that cot. You get me a better.
Well,
yeah. All right.
you're all in on Giannis and LeBron. Go for it, man.
All right. All right. Fair enough.
Put your money where your mouth is.
All right. And then what if my team wins? You got a co-host.
And it's your team, the Bulls. Who?
Yeah, my team's the Bulls.
What's your prediction with the Bulls?
I'm hoping for like 35 wins. You know,
Okay.
Caleb Wilson is the future. I'll see you in 4 years, maybe. Yeah.
I hear you.
Not a lot of optimism. Yeah, we can't be a Bulls Knicks bet unless the spread is involved. Okay?
No, yeah.
But Ben, thank you so much for honoring. Thank you for joining us today. I know you broke the internet from the set of Severance, and can't wait for the Knicks doc. Congratulations, the whole thing, and we'll do it again. All right.
Thanks, man, and good on you for having that night. And Owen, come on, Owen had a great time. That's what it's all about, right?
It's all about it, man. I got a lot of parenting points for that one.
Cool.
He absolutely loved it. Thank you, Ben.
Cool. All right, man.
All right,
See ya.
appreciate you. Congratulations to Knicks superfan Ben Stiller on his Knicks winning the title and me being historically wrong. More First Things